The blizzard erased the road, the sky, and almost erased 3 lives that night. The ex-Navy SEAL didn't stop because he wanted to be a hero. He stopped because something in his chest broke when he saw the widow standing there, shielding her children from the wind with her own frozen body. He could have driven past. He almost did. But when the little girl looked up at him through the snow, he heard a voice he hadn't heard since the war, the voice that once saved lives. He rolled down the window and said just 3 words. Words that would change everything. Come with me. What he didn't know was that this rescue would heal wounds no battlefield ever could. The storm arrived without mercy. Snow slammed against the windshield like fists, and the road disappeared under layers of white. Mark Hale tightened his grip on the steering wheel, muscles still trained for chaos even years after leaving the Navy SEALs. He was used to danger, but this was different. There were no teammates beside him now, no radios crackling orders, just silence and memories that never slept. That's when he saw them. A stalled car half buried in snow. A woman standing outside, coat torn at the sleeve, her arms wrapped around 2 small children as if her body alone could stop death. The engine was dead. The phone signal long gone. The wind howled like it was hunting them. Mark slowed down. His instincts screamed at him to keep moving. Storms kill rescuers too. He had learned that lesson the hard way overseas. He told himself someone else would come. He told himself he wasn't that man anymore. Then the boy collapsed to his knees. Mark stopped. The woman looked up, fear and pride battling in her eyes. Please, she said, though her voice was nearly stolen by the wind. My kids, they're freezing. Her name was Emily. She was a widow. Her husband had died 3 years earlier in a construction accident, leaving her with grief, debt, and 2 children who still waited for a father who would never walk through the door again. Tonight was supposed to be a fresh start, driving to a nearby town for a job interview that might finally change their lives. Instead, the storm took everything. Mark didn't hesitate again. He wrapped the kids in spare jackets, lifted the boy into his arms like he weighed nothing, and guided them into his truck. His movements were calm, controlled, muscle memory from a life he tried to forget. As he drove toward his remote cabin, Emily watched him closely. There was pain in the way he stared ahead. Pain she recognized, the kind that doesn't bleed but never heals. The children slowly warmed, their shivers fading, but Mark's hands still trembled when the truck skidded. When they reached the cabin, the fire roared to life, casting shadows on the walls. The children fell asleep almost instantly, safe at last. Emily finally allowed herself to cry. Silent tears. Grateful tears. Broken tears. Mark stood by the window, staring into the storm. He had saved them. But deep down, he feared the storm wasn't finished yet. The morning came quietly, as if the storm was ashamed of what it tried to do. Sunlight filtered through snow-covered trees, and the world looked innocent again. Inside the cabin, the smell of simple breakfast filled the air. Eggs. Toast. Something warm. Something normal. The kids laughed. That sound hit Mark harder than gunfire ever had. Emily noticed how he flinched at sudden noises, how he checked doors twice, how sleep never fully claimed him. Over coffee, she told him everything, how she'd been holding life together with hope and exhaustion, how she pretended to be strong so her children wouldn't see her fear. Mark listened. Truly listened. And for the first time in years he spoke too. About the men he couldn't save. About promises made in blood and snow. About how surviving sometimes felt heavier than dying. When the roads cleared, reality returned. Emily packed their bags, gratitude mixed with uncertainty. You saved us, she said. I don't know how to repay you. Mark shook his head. You already did. As they stepped outside, the boy, Jacob, looked up at him. Are you going to be alone again? The question shattered him. Mark realized something then. He had spent years hiding from pain, believing solitude was safety. But the storm taught him otherwise. Sometimes, the bravest thing isn't surviving alone, it's choosing connection, even when it scares you. He offered to help Emily get settled in town. One week turned into another. He fixed things. Walked the kids to school. Slowly, laughter replaced silence. The blizzard became a story they told at night. Not about fear, but about rescue. About a moment when 3 words changed 4 lives. And every time snow fell after that, Mark remembered the truth he had learned far too late. Sometimes, saving others is how you finally save yourself.